Hey Tim, how are you today?
I'm great. I actually do kind of like the music. Now that I think about it.
Okay, okay. For the people watching, I'm not sure how I feel about that music. It feels really intense, but maybe it's just like a really good lead up to what we're about to experience. So today I'm with Tim, who calls himself a semi-funny or quasi-funny B2B marketer, but I think we would all disagree that he's very funny. Um, would you mind introducing yourself, Tim?
Yeah. So my name's Tim. I do make semi-funny videos, usually on LinkedIn and TikTok. I'm also the director of marketing at Directive, which is a performance marketing agency for software brands. And I just like to, truthfully, I like making videos that are a little different.
Yeah. I absolutely love your videos. So I'm going to kick you off with one question. I would love if you could tell us like how you got into this line of work. So B2B marketing specifically.
Yeah, so I kind of fell into it, truthfully. I used to work at a marketing agency, like a local marketing agency here in Rochester, New York, where I live. I was working with lawyers, HVAC companies, industrial companies, and I basically just saw our CEO at Directive or I heard him on a podcast, and he was saying that they were hiring for remote, and this was before COVID. So remote work to me sounded crazy. And I applied. I actually made an ad to get the job. I was definitely underqualified, but it got me a chance, and I just kind of fell into it. And ever since then, I really liked it. And I definitely won't go back to managing law firm ads, but it's been fun.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that ad you made?
Yeah. So it is. So it's a LinkedIn spotlight or text ad. It shows up on the right side of the desktop. Um, I basically it's a picture of my face, and then it'd be like you don't get a lot of text, but it'd be small text, and it was highly targeted to the hiring team at Directive, um, and it's just I've never seen it, so when they saw it, they really liked it. It obviously just showed that I could had PPC chops, but the cool thing was that the Brady, who was the hiring manager at the time, he didn't even see it. It was a screenshot in AE's pitch deck because they were just taking screenshots for ads to show prospects. And then when he was going through that deck with the prospect, they saw my face in it, and it was just a very interesting LinkedIn DM from him, and it got me the next interview, so it worked out well. It's pretty interesting. Well, what are your favorite things to do when you're not working? Hmm. Truthfully, I like making videos, LinkedIn, TikTok videos. But outside of that, I like to get outside as much as I can. I got a puppy, he's about 7 month old, Bernedoodle. So we're training him right now, and I used to work at a dog training place, so that's a lot of fun. I like to travel when I can. I was just in Austin. I don't do a lot. I have a lot of interests, but I try to stay in, I just try to get outside, be active as much as possible, even though it's hard up here when it's in winter, especially now. Can you share your creative process when creating one of the semi-viral videos? Semi-viral is very true. So the creative process. So a lot of my ideas come from things come from my experience, right? Whether it's like growth goals are massive or, asking about leads the day after you launch a podcast. These are just things I've experienced from from my experience. And then I try to pair it with something I see. So whether it's a skit, like a B2B fear, like a fear factor, and I just try to make it like into a B2B, or if it's something I see on TikTok, I try to pair it with that and then make a video like that. It's just it's taken a lot of time to get those videos in a kind of sync, but uh, it's basically I have a lot of notes and I try to pair it with something else so it comes to life in like a video. What advice would you give to marketers using LinkedIn ads for the first time? Yeah. So I would I would look at some of the mistakes people make. I posted about it. There's plenty of other people that post about it, a lot of the common mistakes. But you want to understand your audience first. You want to understand who your customer is, because the problem with LinkedIn is you can waste a lot of money pretty fast because it's just more expensive than other platforms. But what you want to do is just make sure you learn those little things and add the exclusions, because you can waste so much money fast. I would start with just making sure you know your audience so you can use that information to make the audience in LinkedIn, and then you can start using it. You're going to have to learn on the go if you don't have anyone that you can kind of learn from personally. But you want to make sure that you're very active on it because it can waste a lot of money fast. Do you think every B2B will eventually hire a full-time content creator? Do I think they should? Yes. Will they? Probably not. I think it's getting there. A lot of B2B companies are starting to do that a lot more. And whether it's just like someone that's creating blog post content, video content, a lot of different content areas, but B2B companies definitely should. I think it's just it's really massive for future growth. It's pretty much the way right now. But I don't think a lot of companies will because they don't see it yet. I think it's getting there. I just think a lot of B2B companies are not doing it yet. You're really passionate about easier demos and transparent pricing. In a perfect world, what would you make the demo process look like? Well, I do want to say it always depends, just because it depends on the product, the price point, whether it's PLG versus sales led. All those things do matter. In a perfect world, though, nowadays, especially, like, a lot of the information, a lot of the buying process is pretty much done by the time you get to a company. So in a perfect world, you can get a demo and pricing on the first call. Pricing, if possible, is on the website. But I know there's always nuances there too. But ideally, demo and pricing, get the information you need in the first call, because we're all busy. And if you've ever bought something, you don't want to just spend 3 calls to get the things you need to go back to your boss or your CFO and ask for the budget. Because a lot of times you need that thing yesterday because you're wasting time not using it, or you were asked to get it and it's just you have other things on your plate. So in a perfect world, get all the information as little as possible. Whether it's the first call, maybe it's the second call because you have to ask very unique questions, but ideally the first call in as little time as possible. We're all busy. How do you handle being the face of a brand due to willingness to create videos, and how do you balance your personal posts and brand content? I never thought of myself as the face of a brand, but I would say I'm in a lucky spot because well, one, for my personal brand, right? So at Directive, I'm marketing to marketers. My personal brand, I want to talk to marketers. So both of those join in together, and I'm also working at a place where they allow me to build a personal brand. I've put out content that doesn't exactly align with them, and my boss is open to feedback. He's open to questioning things. He's open to different ideas. So I'm actually in a very good spot for that. So a lot of it can actually be joined, which is really good for me. And a lot of people I know, if they're like, say you're a marketer and you're marketing to engineers, that stinks. And like your time's actually split because you want to help the business marketing to engineers, but for your personal brand, because ideally, I mean, to be honest, like, we all know that you're not going to stay at your job too long. I mean, 2-3 years, sometimes longer, but a lot of times people are moving. But if you're marketing to engineers and you're building a personal brand there to help the business, it kind of stinks, because what if you don't want to market to engineers all the time? So I will say I'm in a lucky spot, and I can balance both. Don't get me wrong, I do have posts that don't exactly align with Directive, in the sense that they're a different style. than the brand. I'm trying to get better at balancing that, but I do feel like I'm in a lucky spot because I am marketing to marketers in both my company and personal brand, and the company's very open to my ideas on, a personal brand, on how the content I make from a personal brand. Have some of Directive's clients came directly from seeing your content online? Yes. No, I don't know if that was the only touch point. I doubt it was. But it is very interesting to hear these conversations, whether from current customers, from prospects, people that are coming inbound to us. We actually just had one the other day where someone said they thought I was going to be they were kind of bummed that I wasn't on the intro call because they just like my content. And this is actually overseas, so I didn't really know I had that kind of reach. But yes, definitely. And I'm starting to see the flywheel effect. It took, 5, 6, 7 months, but I am starting to see that. And it's very interesting because I do get a good feedback loop from that too. There's a bullet point here about traveling for free with reward points. On a similar note, company card or reimbursement and why. So it's actually personal credit cards. It's just I've always been into that for a few years, but I guess at its simplest form, I really take advantage of like the bonus offers. So a lot of times you can apply for a personal credit card, and there's usually like a 60,000 bonus point if you spend 3,000 in the first 3 months. My bill's at 3,000, so I just put that on the credit card, and then when I get that bonus points, which is usually a flight, at least a round trip flight, then I just stop using the credit card. Now, some do have annual fees. The trick there is actually if you call when it's about that time for the annual fee. If you call the credit card company, you can ask for, I forgot what it's called, but you can basically ask like for a retention rate, and they'll either give you bonus points if they say you're going to cancel, or they'll waive the fee. I had it waived many times, so I don't really have to pay those fees. But even if I did have to pay the annual fees, all those bonus points usually do add up. And now I have also credit cards where I just kind of you get like 5% points at certain places, and sometimes like it's like, oh, Home Depot, but then you just buy like a gift card from there to like a grocery store and you get the points there. So it's a lot of bonus points, and then just maxing out the bonus offers throughout the year. I can go in this very deep, but it's been it feels cool to be able to do that, truthfully, and get all
I
this.
just want to pop in and say I'm like super impressed by this. You're like an extreme couponer, but with points.
I wish I had it here, but I do have. So I don't know how many credit cards I have, but I have a number of them, and there's a big stack. I also have an Excel sheet though, because the problem with them, and I'm really good at this, luckily, if you don't pay off it all every month, and it's just credit in general, you will get obviously fees, and credit card fees are bad. I have it all set up so everything just gets paid off. I get the bonus points, so there's no fees, and it's all free flights. If I was obviously getting screwed on the fees, that wouldn't help out with the flights. But I'm very meticulous with it.
That's awesome. So we're about 14, 15 minutes in. So I just want to give you a time check, and I'm going to move on to the next question.
What are the best demand channels that you're seeing at Directive for clients? I would say LinkedIn's the biggest one. And I say that, I think like everyone knows that, right? But I say that because there's been a shift of Google and LinkedIn to more on LinkedIn, because Google just doesn't have firmographics. And obviously there's only so many times people search, and it's getting very competitive. LinkedIn's very competitive too, but the way everything's shifting, more companies are using LinkedIn much more and better. I think Facebook's another good one. You got to use, one of those like a metadata or Clearbit or some of the other ones that allow you to do B2B targeting there. But the cost per clicks are just cheaper there, and you can really be omnichannel, right? A weird word, but with LinkedIn and Facebook. So paid social, I would say, that is the big one. I'm finding some other things that are interesting with like podcast advertising. We're seeing some very interesting things there. We're trying to test out TikTok. I know some clients are seeing some really good success there. But I would really say it's right now it's paid social, the tried and true. Any favorite channels you think you might be underutilized by other marketing teams? Probably a lot, and maybe it's not channel. Well, it is a channel. I would say organic social for like personal brands is very underutilized. Now that's a whole other thing because obviously it's from there's a lot of different workup set up there, so it's not really just the company. But I would say Facebook's probably another one. Not a lot of companies are utilizing it as well as they should, and Instagram as well. Facebook and Instagram together. Um, I haven't had much success with this, but like I think Reddit is another one for some industries. I think that's a big opportunity for some industries there. And TikTok, from the advertising standpoint, it's just the targeting is not good. But I do think it's gonna be really good at some point, and it's just figuring out what that targeting looks like. But even organically, I think it could be a big driver for a lot of B2B companies. If you had very limited time / money for paid activities across channels, which would you prioritize and why? So it depends, obviously, on every company. But I will say that for us, it would be LinkedIn. LinkedIn has just been a big driver for us. So for us, it would be LinkedIn, but for every company, it's going to be different. You just got to look at like, all right, what's actually driving revenue and pipeline, and whether it's directly attributed or not. You need to figure out what channels are doing best, and even within that, maybe it's industries that have the highest ACV. Maybe it's job titles you have the most success with, departments, company sizes. You need to look at those things if you do have limited time and money. For us, it would be LinkedIn for sure. How big is the marketing team at Directive, and what would be your dream hire? So we just hired a bunch of people, so I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Probably 7 or 8 once some of them start. Dream hire. It's tough to say because there's a lot of roles that like you want to have. I think something that would be very interesting would be someone that comes with like a B2C background and just could like really experiment and do really well with like a TikTok and Instagram, but from a different lens. Uh, I'm just, it's a hard answer. Probably someone with a different perspective that could really master TikTok or Instagram right now, but that'll probably change after 30 minutes. What challenges do you see in demand gen at sub 100 employees versus over 100 employees? I think usually with that, it's like being spread thin. I think a lot of marketing, like under 100 employees, some marketing teams are just very small, and you still have really good growth goals because you have funding, or you just have big goals. So your team's pretty spread thin, and it's hard, right? Like from the executive team, they got to justify a new hire to spend that before being able to spread it. So I think the being spread thin is probably the biggest problem. But over 100 employees, you still have that too because you have usually maybe more products, or you just have more to do. I would say though it's usually just your team being very spread thin under 100 employees versus over 100, even though it happens a lot over 100 too. What's a tool that you use now that you would buy again if you move to a new company? Ooh. One, I think metadata. We just bought it, but I've used it for clients in the past, and I just think the roadmap and the things you can do with it for your marketing team are crazy. I think it's something I'll just try to bring on to every company, because whether it's your team small or you just have a lot of channels you want to be in and you want to be in Facebook and use their tools, I just think it's a great tool to bring for every company. Uh, best swag you've received. Don't say Yetis. That's fair. I do like my Yeti mugs. My favorite one is actually from User Gems. I really don't have it on here now. It's a money gun. I have some videos with it. So it's a money gun. You basically shoot out the money. It's the best thing for my videos, especially like when marketing's celebrating, even though they missed their revenue goals. It's pretty awesome. Have you seen cost per demo requests trending upward overall in the last few months? Depends, but yes, I think overall, yeah, I think to answer your question, yes. It really does depend. There's definitely some industries where it's staying the same or decreasing, but I don't know if the decreasing's because they're optimizing better. I'm assuming this is kind of relative to the economic climate, but yeah, I would say the cost per demos are going up in the last few months. If you had unlimited budget to get creative with swag, what would you choose? So for swag, I actually think the best swag is actually very personalized to the person. So what I would actually choose is just hiring people to find out about the people that you want to send swag to. So an example would be me. Watch this video and look at my background and figure out like, okay, how do we get Tim's swag? You can see a dog paw, you can see Pokemon, you can see, forest, volcanoes and stuff. Picture. I think it's just something I think the best swag is personalized to people. And I would just actually get a lot of VAs or something to figure out more about these people, whether it's just going on like their Facebook page or finding out like what they talk about on LinkedIn and sending them very personalized swag. That's just the way. I just think that's the best way. If they have a dog, you can do so much with that. People love their dogs. Now that you've run paid media for law firms and SaaS companies, how are they similar and different? They're similar. All right, so this one, they're unique, I guess, but they're similar in some spaces for SaaS that the cost per clicks on like Google are just crazy. Like injury lawyer in New York City is like $600 a click. Maybe it's not as much in SaaS companies, but some of these like CRM stuff, they can get up there. I'll also say one of the biggest difference, I guess. Oh, similarity. Marketing teams are small for the most part, and they're pretty spread thin, and they're very intense in terms of like goals, because law firms do have big goals because the lawyers, who are usually the owners, they like money. They have pretty big goals. Similar, some law firms are very old school, I've found. I mean, one of the ones I was working for, he was still using like their CRM was still Notepad. I wouldn't say, I think there's some SaaS companies that are like that, but they're a little bit more innovative. What's a recent win that you're super proud of, either professionally or personally? I think it's a very small win, personally, because we're training our dog. We're in a training class. He was not voted, but the trainer said he was the best one there. He's doing the best. He's most trained. So I feel pretty good about that. Would you ever consider starting your own agency? Maybe. So I have a very entrepreneurial mind, but I'm terrible at sales. Like really, really, really bad. I worked in sales for the first year, and I was the one that made the cold call hoping for the voicemail. I was just really bad at sales. So I could see that happening. I don't know if it would be an agency or something, but I'm just really bad at sales. So maybe.
So we've got about 5 more minutes. I'm going to give you a couple more questions and then we'll close out.
Sounds good. Have you noticed any trends in B2B marketing that people should be paying attention to? attention to. Yes. So I think one big one that I think is a huge opportunity, but there's not a lot out there, and a lot of companies aren't doing it because it's hard. It's just really hard, which is like, call it what you want, but B2B influencer marketing. And that come in different ways, but I think that's a very untapped space, and I think there's just a lot of opportunity there. On that side, like there's so many ways you can do it, and it could go like the Nick Bennett route where you hire an employee or make an employee like an evangelist, and they basically just create a lot of content. They have a personal brand that's targeted or very geared towards your audience, or you hire or you like pay people to create content for you, and they have a decent personal brand. I just think it's a very untapped category, and I wouldn't say we're doing it well at all by any means. I just think it's untapped and it could be a huge opportunity for B2B. What do you think it will take for B2B companies to recognize full-time content creator as a necessary marketing role? When you can directly attribute it, probably, which is not ever going to happen. But I think that's sometimes what B2B companies need to see. So I think they just need to see more other companies doing it, and they're almost forced to do it. Or a leader comes in, so say they hire a new CMO or a VP that knows the value of a full-time content creator, and then they're like, all right, this is what we need to do. I think it's going to come. It's just an uphill battle for now, but I think it is coming. There's more. I'm sure if I looked on LinkedIn for people that have content titles or similar, I bet you there's more than there was like a year ago, 2 years ago. Do you have any book or podcast recommendations? So one podcast I'm listening to right now is more on the content creator side of it, but it is called. I just started listening to it like a few days ago. It's called The Khan and Samir Show. It's under like the LinkedIn network, maybe, but they're YouTubers. They actually started the Lacrosse Network back in the day, but they're YouTubers, and they talk about content creators, all the big YouTubers like Mr. Beast. They've talked about through that, and yeah, it's not like B2B, but it's very interesting to hear like how YouTube's changing. They talk with creators and like how they're building out teams. It's very interesting to hear that, I like to create things, and listening to that show is very interesting on how they think about it and like the changes in YouTube and LinkedIn and all those other places. Have you or Directive ever ran into PPC click fraud? If yes, how do you manage it? For Directive, we haven't. I know we've had clients that have probably dealt with it. And I think they bought one of those softwares. I'm blanking what they're called. I personally haven't had much experience with it, but I know there's like some softwares out there that help with it. Unfortunately, I haven't had much experience with it.
Hey, so we're at 29 minutes and 30 seconds, so I figured it was a good time to stop. Is there anything that you want to promote before we say goodbye?
Find me on LinkedIn and TikTok.
Yeah, and I'll share your information.
Yeah, find me, DM me if you have any questions. I'm always open to it. I'm not the best at DMs. I will say that. I'm not the best at getting back in a timely fashion, but I try. I will try. I promise.
Okay, but DMs are still the best way to get to you.
Yes, DMs are the best way for sure.
Okay, sweet. I think that you did a really great job. How do you feel?
I feel good. That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, had a lot of really good questions.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
To the people that are watching, we have regular AMAs a couple times a month. So I want to thank Tim for being here. But if you're interested in learning about other content creators out there or other people who are making waves in sales and marketing, you can follow User Gems. You can follow Directive if you want to keep up with Tim and follow Tim directly. And also we have a Halloween live stream going on Monday that I'm really excited about. We're going to talk about sales and the dead deals that haunt them. So it's
Ooh.
going to be kind of spooky. So everyone, thank you for being here today, and bye. Have a great weekend.